Welcome in to News and Views with Tom Lamprecht. The stories you've heard and the ones you need to hear.
This is the third time Biden has said we're going to go to war. This is getting crisis level with this man.
Spread most readily through person-to-person contact, especially with body fluids.
Our one China policy has not changed.
Safe baby formula.
The playbook of Russia's aggression comes straight out of another century.
Your life, your values, your voice. This is News and Views with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
All right, welcome in. It is News and Views for a Tuesday. How about them Pirates? They keep doing it.
15 in a row.
Yeah. It was a Grand Slam fest. They're playing South Florida. I guess it was the sixth inning that...
I believe, yes, that's
sixth
correct.
inning.
Mm-hmm.
The Pirates are up 3-0?
3-0.
3-0. South Florida loads the bases, hits a grand slam home run. They're up 4-3. The very next inning, with 2 outs, it was a 2-out rally. Pirates load the bases. Bryson Worrell comes up to the plate, puts it out. They go back up 7-4, and that was the final score of the game. And we were just watching a video. Bryson Worrell, before he hit the grand slam, had an incredible play from center field. The runner was on, there was a triple hit. The runner was on third, 2 outs. He tries to tag on a long fly ball. I guess there was 1 out because if it was 2 outs, that would have been the third out. There was 1 out. Anyway, Bryson Worrell threw him out at the plate. I don't know how many feet it was. It's, 300 foot? Close to it.
They said 375. I'd say at least 350 or 60 at least. Because
375? How deep is center field?
Well, it was over 400. I saw the
Was
sign.
it really?
Yeah, I saw the
Wow.
sign. It was over 400. So it was at least 360.
Wow.
Maybe 370.
So kudos to Bryson Worrell and the fifth-year senior. Anyway, they advance. They'll play Cincinnati Thursday at 1 p.m., so they have tomorrow off. The games can be heard on 94.3, our sister station. And Scooter Rogers doing a great job.
Yeah.
He is really doing a good job. He was, I've known Scooter from down at Little League Baseball. He's been very involved with that. But
we know that I've watched and listened to baseball my entire life. And the old-time announcers always talked about, when a guy makes a great defensive play, it's great that he gets rewarded the next inning with a good offensive play. And it was perfect. In fact, I had that thought because I got back from a meeting. I turned it on. I had that thought. I said, now he deserves to come up big here. And
came up as big as you can get.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that would be bigger is if that was a national championship game. But they will continue on, and they'll play Cincinnati, as I said.
No, they'll play Tulane the day after
Cincinnati,
tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Well, wait a minute. This out of WNCT says ECU advances to face Cincinnati in the next round. They'll play Thursday at 1 p.m.
No,
that's a typo.
Yeah,
Cincinnati lost today.
No, Cincinnati beat Tulane today, like 9-1.
Okay.
And so Tulane's in the losers bracket.
So they play the toughest team.
We get a day off, and Cincinnati gets a day off, and they'll play the losers day after tomorrow.
Anyway, we'll try to figure it out. This is why Patrick Johnson is around. We do politics, he does sports. Speaking of politics.
And sometimes there's politics in sports.
Often. And unfortunately, with ESPN, it's usually liberal politics. Got a feed from Jim Perry, apparently at 5:30. We might see if we can join that. At 5:30, there's going to be a press conference amongst Senate Republicans to unveil a Parents' Bill of Rights. Press conference to discuss legislation enumerate the rights of parents to direct the upbringing, education, health care, and mental health of their children. I can only imagine that this is going to be somewhat patterned after the DeSantis Bill of Rights down in Florida. Who was the other? There was another state that has come up with a very similar Bill of Rights. I was just reading about. Now
it's not a Democrat state.
No. It was a Republican state. I'm trying to remember who it was, but
it was Oklahoma, maybe.
I think you might be wrong.
Ohio, right? Wasn't it?
I was going to say Oklahoma was right.
Let's go to.
We're doing a lot of guessing today.
Let's go to Mr. Google.
While you're doing Mr. Google, News and Observer is reporting North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein apparently had a minor stroke last night. He was out walking his dog with his wife, and said he had stroke-like symptoms, which I'm not sure exactly what the stroke-like symptoms are. But he went to the hospital, and doctors confirmed he had a minor stroke, and they did a procedure to remove a small blood clot. It could have happened to anybody. He's had COVID. I assume he's a Democrat, so I assume he's had the shots and the boosters. But I'm just saying, you can draw your own conclusion. But one of the side issues with some of these vaccinations is blood clotting, and whether or not that had anything to do with this. Anyway, it sounds like he's going to be fine and doing well. House Speaker Tim Moore said he was praying for a full and speedy recovery, and we wish that for him as well. I do not wish any but good things for everybody's health.
That parents' Bill of Rights bill is in Georgia, and Texas is working on one.
Lots of interesting things coming out of Georgia.
Yeah.
It's
the worst state to live in?
Yeah. And Stacey Abrams today was really trying her best to walk back what she said yesterday. I mentioned this in yesterday's program. She came out over the weekend and was basically bad-mouthing her own state, which obviously isn't a real brilliant political strategy. If you want to be the governor, you don't come out and say this state stinks. I mean, basically, what are you saying to the people who live in your state that you're asking for your vote? If your state stinks, apparently you think your people stink.
Yeah.
I mean, it is not the people of the state that guides the state and directs the state, and you're coming out and say this is the worst state to live in.
And, you've been around campaigns more than me, but I've followed politics my whole life. It's rare that really a winning campaign is just entirely negative. Not necessarily negative against your opponent, but just like doom and gloom and end of the world. I mean, that of course, running against Joe Biden, what else can you say?
Well,
but
your point is absolutely right. You have to be a vision caster. You have to, and nobody was better than Ronald Reagan at doing this. Imagining what we could be, and this is what we can be, and this is how we're going to get
what
there.
you aspire to be, not point out your weaknesses, but point out what our possibilities are. And I think that's people generally go towards that. And to your point, Stacey Abrams was. I mean, how does Georgians feel about that? I just don't think that's going to go over.
Exactly, as I say, it's a terrible political
on
strategy.
Moderate Democrats.
Now. The question of voter suppression, she has been. Everybody looks at Donald Trump and says, why doesn't he, agree with, all the pundits that said it was a clean, clear, fair election and everything's wonderful and just let bygones be bygones. They never say that about Stacey Abrams. I mean, she has been nothing but voter suppression since she lost to Kemp for the governor's race 4 years ago.
It was stolen from her. That's what she's been saying for all these.
And liberals seem to just say, oh, okay, that's good, that's fine. Interestingly, not only there's a, compared to the last midterm, there's been an increase in votes in Georgia by 156%. And minority voters is way up. I mean, whether you're black or white or Hispanic, all the vote counts are all up. Overall, it's up 156%. So this genius Stacey Abrams, the voter suppression queen, came out at a little impromptu press conference earlier today, and she was talking about this voter suppression. Cut one, Clark.
What we have seen is record turnout among communities of color, among Latino and Hispanic and black communities. Those are voters who weren't in the mix 4 years ago, and they are showing up in this primary, and we know they'll show up again in November. The question about voter suppression and voter turnout is causation without correlation. I'm sorry, you can make mistakes even when you know what you're talking about. It's correlation without causation. We know that increased turnout has nothing to do with suppression. Suppression is about whether or not you make it difficult for voters to access the ballot. And in Georgia, we know difficulty has been put in place for too many Georgians who wanted to vote by mail, who had to figure out a calendar of applying just early enough but not too late, who had to have wet signatures so they could print things out, take a picture, upload it. We know that across the state, Counties have taken advantage of county election boards that have shifted their dynamic. In Spalding County, they eliminated Sunday voting to target a black community that was showing up. We know that across this state, voters are still facing difficulties.
You can't make it up. Stupid is as stupid does. We know that increased turnout has nothing to do with suppression. So the voter turnout is up 156% from 4 years ago, and yet she is still harping that there's voter suppression going on.
In a state,
you can't make it up.
Yeah, in a state that Georgia's new law is a lot less restrictive than many states. Colorado for one, and Delaware for another. So.
Interestingly, Major League Baseball has remained silent on whether the league regrets relocating the 2021 All-Star Game from Atlanta they took it over to Denver. Democrats portrayed the voting reforms, which were signed into law by Brian Kemp, as tantamount to a conspiracy to suppress black voters from accessing the ballot box. Many prominent corporations with presence in Georgia, including Major League Baseball, promptly denounced the law. The league even went so far as to relocate the 2021 All-Star Game. The White House offered support for moving the All-Star Game. Democrats' narrative about the law has not stood the test of time. Georgia is now seeing record voting turnout. Georgia has seen 539,297 people cast ballots as of today, early balloting. The last time, far outpacing the last time there was a midterm of 182,000. I mean, that's almost 3 times as many. But Major League Baseball, no, just crickets. So when they want to tear down Georgia, when they want to tear down anything the Republicans do, they're out there front and center. But, and by the way, could you explain to us, I mean, it was $100 million in tourism revenue that didn't come to Atlanta. And what's the African-American population in Denver is like 4%. And in Atlanta is like close to 30%.
Yeah, if you take out the professional athletes, it's less than that in Denver. I mean, really. I mean, Denver's white.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is.
Yeah. Speaking of elections, by the way, speaking of election fraud, which seems to be a theme that is coming back to the surface. Tomorrow afternoon, we're scheduled to have, I mentioned this yesterday, he was busy this afternoon, but we're going to have Hans von Spakovsky of the Heritage Foundation, who is a election integrity guru. He's going to be on with us tomorrow at 5:20, so you don't want to miss that. But in Michigan, there are 2 prominent Republicans running for the governor in Michigan. They have now been considered ineligible after failing to submit enough valid signatures to make it on the ballot. Republicans seem to have lost 2 of the most serious contenders for the gubernatorial election in Michigan. Chief James Craig of Detroit Police Department and businessman Perry Johnson, 2 of the most prominent Republicans running against Gretchen Whitmer, failed to produce the valid signatures necessary to get on the ballot. Gubernatorial candidates are required to submit 15,000 valid signatures to appear on the state ballot, which doesn't seem like that would be that many. I mean, if you're going to have a campaign, that seems like you could get those pretty quick. According to the Bureau, the affected candidates were victimized via a series of petitioners who obtained nothing but invalid or otherwise unusable signatures, putting them well below the mark. Quote, Michigan's petition process is fatally flawed because it easily allows criminals to victimize candidates for public office and their thousands of supporters who legitimately sign petitions, Johnson said of the situation in a campaign statement yesterday. Criminals can commit fraud for money or by purposely infiltrating a victimized campaign with illegitimate signatures in a Machiavellian attempt by the opposing party to later have them removed from the ballot, Johnson continued. Unfortunately, the signatures provided to campaigns cannot currently be checked until after their submission to the Secretary of State. This needs to change immediately, he said. The Bureau of Elections announced the complications to the election Monday after reviewing materials submitted by the candidates. In total, 5 gubernatorial candidates in the state were found to have insufficient valid signatures. Now, I am not advocating that these signatures be accepted. However, is it not interesting when it comes to election integrity in 2020, it was sacrilege not to accept every signature on every ballot, regardless of incorrect dates, incorrect signatures, incorrect addresses. And now we have individuals, these Republican candidates, that might be a threat to a progressive governor, Gretchen Whitmer. Suddenly, it's so important that every signature be verified.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of like, with anything, you're always against something unless it you get to the point where it benefits you, then you're for it.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the state of Michigan. You have Detroit, which obviously is I can't think of a good term to say about Detroit. It used to be a great American city years ago.
It's a disaster area.
But pretty much after Detroit, you've got Grand Rapids, a couple 100,000, and then a number of cities that are really no different in the size of Greenville. Can Detroit voting control that state by so much, or are those other cities kind of liberal for the
Good
most
question.
part? Generally Michigan, the governor's races into the last couple of times have been fairly close, as I recall. But Gerald Ford was from Michigan. He was a senator, right, from Michigan?
No, he's in the House. Yeah,
he was in the House before he was VP. But you would think the people in the state of Michigan would just look and say, okay, we know the way Detroit used to be, and Democrat policies for the last 50 years, look what it's done to our, and just not go the direction of Democrats.
Yeah. It was one of the premier cities in the world, and now it's a ghost town disaster area. But again, this is if they have an issue that helps their candidate, then we need to follow the letter of the law. Have you been following what's going on up in Pennsylvania? Amendment Oz is in this campaign with this guy named McCormick, and apparently Oz is up by roughly 1,000 votes.
Yeah, 1,000 votes, yeah. And,
that's out of 1.3 million ballots.
Man, that's close. That's close.
0.007%. But now this guy McCormick is... He wants to make sure that all the ballots are counted, even though they are illegal ballots because they are not properly signed. And now there's a court that has come out and said you've got to, as a brand new appeals court decision, that you've got to count these ballots. This is the same garbage that we went through in 2020.
I know. Maybe McCormick should hire Mark Elias and Josh Stein. Show them how it's done.
My wife was saying she really didn't know who was the better candidate, Oz or McCormick, and she made a great point. She said, well, I guess I'm an Oz fan now because McCormick is doing exactly what we ought not to be doing.
I agree regardless. If this was a Democrat versus Republican and a Republican was advocating for that, I would say, no, you either have the rule of law or you don't.
Yeah. And I guarantee you the reason why, and I tried to find on this this court, I think it was the third court, appeals court, I tried to find who were the three judges. It wasn't the entire court. It was a panel of three judges. It wasn't the en banc court, just the three judges. I tried to find who were the three judges that made this decision because strong suspicion they were Democrats, or at least the majority of them were Democrats, at least two of the three. Because I guarantee you, and this is why this is so wrong for this guy McCormick to be asking that these improper ballots be counted. If they say yes to this, and by the way, this is probably going to be appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States, but if they say yes to this, I guarantee you, come this November, they will look back on that and say, well, we did it for Republicans and counted these improper ballots, so certainly we need to count them now that we're in the general election. And Thomas Wolf, the governor in Pennsylvania, who's a Democrat, he's come out and said, oh, no, we need to count every vote. What do you care, Mr. Governor? You're a Democrat, and this is a Republican primary. Well, why should a Democrat have any say-so into how the Republicans run their primary?
Hey, it's not how you perform, it's how you prepare. Democrats can tell you that. But, last presidential election, Pennsylvania had all the problems with the same type issues.
Oh, yeah.
In fact,
Oh, yeah.
Forgive me, Dr. Murphy, if I have this correct, but Pennsylvania was the only state that Dr. Murphy voted not to certify during the election. Is that not
that right?
I think so.
I don't remember. I do not.
If you're listening,
to
Dr.
quote
Murphy,
Nancy, to quote Hillary Clinton, I do not recall. 561-8255. Randy is on the line. Hey, Randy.
Hey, Tom. Hey, Benny. We'll make this quick. This is back to what you were talking about earlier with Stacey Abrams and the idea of voter suppression. And we'll have to get your memory to go back a little bit to one of the all-time great movies, Princess Bride, and where the Spaniard was replying to the young man who kept saying inconceivable.
Inconceivable.
And I would say the same thing to Stacey Abrams. Voter suppression? I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Yeah, exactly.
Inconceivable.
Exactly. So
that's right. I don't think that word means what you think it means. They don't understand, but it's all about what you said. It's all about trying to manipulate it for their advantage. It's like Benny said, it's not within the rule of law, and it's not within the rule of logic. It's in the rule of whatever we can do to win. But if you try to play by those rules, oh, you're evil and all that other nonsense.
Bingo.
Inconceivable.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate the call. Hey, we got to take a time out. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Go to Greenville Toyota, where inventory is on the move, with truckloads of vehicles arriving daily. Shop over 280 new certified and pre-owned vehicles. Plus, we'll buy your vehicle, sell it for cash, or trade into a new Toyota. Greenville Toyota.
Hey, we're at Marabella's in Greenville, the new location of Marabella's on Fire Tower Road. If you haven't been to this place yet, let me tell you, you are missing out. I want to introduce my friends from Marabella's. I've got Sal, Massimo, and Pietro here. These guys are awesome. Not only do they make great food, they do a lot of things for the community, which we're going to be talking about. But Sal, let's start with you. Let's talk about the new location of Marabella's on Fire Tower Road. I'm a regular here. I love it. You guys call it Old World Pizza. Tell us what's different about your pizza.
Well, we got two kinds of pizzas. We have the traditional, American style, and then we have the Old World Pizza, which is made with fresh mozzarella, and the way they do it in Italy.
Massimo, when you talk about doing this food right, it's authentic. And when I talk about authentic, you grew up in Italy, so you grew up with this food. You know how to make it.
Yeah, because we grew up in Italy, we know the ingredient, and everything we do from scratch. And the right ingredient it's been hard for us to bring over here. And now finally we can get the right ingredient to make a right pizza.
All right, now I'm going to talk to my friend Pietro here at Marabella's. He's got the Nino's shirt on today. We're going to talk about Nino's, which is another great dining experience, upscale dining experience, on another segment upcoming. But Pietro, let's talk about Marabella's. For people who've never been to Marabella's, what's the experience going to be like when they come here? Not only pizzas, but pastas, salads, sandwiches, you got it all.
Yes, we do. We have new sandwiches that we put in this new location, and we're going to spread it to the other locations.
The guys here at Marabella's have won national pizza competitions, so you know it's good. Thanks to Sal, Massimo, and Pietro. Folks, do yourself a favor. Come to the new Marabella's here on Fire Tower Road in Greenville, or Marabella's on Greenville Boulevard, or Marabella's in Washington on Carolina Avenue. Also, don't forget upscale dining at Nino's on Red Banks Road.
107.9 WNCT welcomes you to Concert on the Common.
I love beach music. I always have and I always will.
The next band to hit the stage at the Greenville Toyota Amphitheater is The Embers, featuring Craig Woolard, May 26th.
I remember this past winter. I told myself to settle
Don't miss
down.
Concert on the Common.
Oh, let the night.
Get on the move in a pre-owned vehicle from Greenville Toyota. Shop a huge selection of used cars, trucks, SUVs, even luxury vehicles with no charge maintenance. Plus a used vehicle warranty that covers you for 100,000 miles. Get to Greenville Toyota today.
No need to search for the facts.
The fact is, hold on. Let's see, they gave me...
Just take note.
Okay, it's 1 pound of ground beef, 1 egg, What is this? That's a recipe for meatloaf someone gave me. That's nice.
And check in throughout the day here.
Look, no, seriously, look around. Did anybody see a piece of paper with my notes on it?
For what's next, travel with us on Talk 96.3 and 103.7 with Tom Lamprecht.
Welcome back in. Quick look at your weather forecast. Rain showers this evening with overcast skies overnight, around 60. Tomorrow, a slight chance of a rain shower with cloudy skies, a high around 72, so it's going to cool down a little bit. Tomorrow night, cloudy, a low 62. Thursday, mostly cloudy skies, a stray shower or thunderstorm is possible with a high around 85. Weather brought to you by our friends at the Ironwood Golf and Country Club. Whether you're looking to spend your summer poolside, courtside, or greenside, Ironwood Golf and Country Club offers a variety of memberships tailored to fit your lifestyle with no initiation fee required. Headed to the beach this summer? Pack your clubs. Ironwood members receive reciprocal golf and dining privileges at the Beaufort Club in Beaufort, Compass Point Golf Club, and Magnolia Greens, located near Wilmington. Contact Membership Director Jenna Doyle, 252-752-4653. Join in the fun at Ironwood today, and you can golf pretty much all over Eastern Carolina. Give her a call, Jenna Doyle. She'll take good care of you. Sorry to report, this is gut-wrenching. A shooting at a Texas elementary school earlier today killed 14 children and one teacher, according to Governor Greg Abbott. This just released off of Fox News. Abbott identified the suspect as Salvador Ramos, how did you say you pronounce that? Uvalde, Texas resident.
Uvalde, Texas. Yeah.
The Texas Department of Public Safety and Uvalde Mayor Don McLaughlin told Fox News that a shooter who ran to Robb Elementary School had become barricaded inside. Uvalde Memorial Hospital confirmed that 2 people were brought to the hospital deceased. 15 children were taken to the facility via ambulance or bus for treatment. A hospital spokesman said there is an active shooter at Robb Elementary. Anyway, I pray that this is a typo. This just, I know it's half a country away, but there's going to be some sad, heartbroken, devastated families. And get ready to see progressives jump on this and use this for their agenda.
Yeah, unfortunately, just like we saw in Buffalo, within the last couple of weeks, Democrats will see just how fast they can get to a microphone and use this as a political issue.
Yeah. Look, laws were broken. And again, you know what? Had there been someone that could have taken this guy out, anyway, pray for the families down there. That is heartbreaking. I mean, literally heartbreaking. 561-8255. Let's go to the phones. Tom from I think Bellhaven. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hey guys, how you all today?
We're hanging in there.
The first thing I want to talk about is, of course, the shooting. That I was a gunsmith for 20 years and wholeheartedly Second Amendment champion, that kind of thing. But I'm more curious as to who the shooter was and not what he used, because as we all know, if you want to kill somebody, you're going to do it.
Right.
But that is just absolutely, like you said, gut wrenching.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to talk about, you were talking about voter suppression. I am so sick and tired of hearing the hypocrisy every single day coming from the left. It just makes you sick. I mean, you just can't. It's almost like they think all their little lies are invisible, and they expect us to just, we're going to forgive you. We're not going to come after you for this. And it's just getting to a point where I think people are just about there where they're just going to say, this has got to stop. This has to stop.
Yeah, unfortunately, the court of public opinion is such that it is tainted by the mainstream media that is only too glad to carry the water for these liberals, and they're going to try to paint a Stacey Abrams as the next Harriet Tubman or something.
I agree with you there 100%. The other thing I wanted to say, this morning I was listening, and I guess they had Keith Kidwell on this morning, and I voted for Keith in the primary. Because I know he's done a great job. The only thing I had a problem with this morning, and maybe you read it a different way than I do, Keith said, they were talking about the gaming law they were trying to pass.
Sports betting.
Yeah. Sports betting. And he said, well, I'm not for that. I'm not a gambling guy. Well, I'm not either. And to be honest with you, I don't think they should allow it. But he said, I'm not going to vote for it because I'm not a gambling guy. And to me, he's supposed to be a representative. And his answer should have been, to me, I think, would have been, my voters don't want that. And the reason I say that is because it's gotten to a point now where all of our politicians, it's about what they want, not what the people want. And I think it's time that a lot of this stuff started changing a little bit. And I love Keith. I think he's done a super job. That just gave me pause for a second to say, wait a minute.
Tom, I listen to Keith, and I can kind of agree with you in a sense, but to his credit, he went on to say that he thought that the people affected by this most were people of lower income that spend money on gambling instead of other things. So
exactly. And the state's going to set.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he really was taking it from perspective. He just didn't think it was good for people, and it was going to affect people in his district in the lower income. But I get what you're saying. He did say, I'm not a gambling guy. I mean, he did say that, but I think it was really he meant more than that.
This wasn't about the gaming stuff. It was sports gambling. I was just that comment. That's all I was saying.
Well, there's two ways of looking at it, Tom, because on one hand, I understand what you're saying, and what you're saying makes some sense. But again, we're a federal republic. And as such, we all get together, and you and I and others get together and say, yeah, Benny's a pretty good guy. And I think Benny represents us well. Most of the stuff that we agree on, he agrees with us on. So let's send Benny to Raleigh or to Washington to represent us, because we think Benny is a good representation of our values. And I think that's why people elect people like Keith Kidwell. So I guess the other side of the coin is, okay, we are a representative form of government, and if the representative does a lot of things that you don't like, obviously the next time around you're not going to vote for him. But in a real sense, I do think, okay, I trust in a guy like Keith. I think he's going to make sound decisions, and therefore I'm putting my vote to him so he can represent me. Now, I'm not saying that he should ignore those he represents, but in a sense, it's because we trust the guy. We think he's a guy of character, and so therefore we're going to give him some latitude to make those kind of decisions. When it gets back to
and that makes sense. I mean, that makes total sense. So.
But getting back to the sports issue, I'm not a gambling guy either. Not for the most part, except for my 50-cent bets when I'm playing golf on Saturday morning, but which I usually am paying out, by the way. But
I've heard I could come out there and make some real money off it.
Oh, yeah. You make some big bucks. I mean, you might be actually pay for half a tank of gas to get home. Or half a gallon of gas, I should say. But I really think that if we're going to do something with sports, have it related to some sort of industry. And as an example, why don't we do horse racing or something like that, where you would actually have a track that would attract people, it would attract tourists, and place those in needy areas. Don't put them in Charlotte or Raleigh, but put them in eastern North Carolina or some other rural part of the state where A, you'd have horse farms, and B, you would have an industry developed. Now, I mean, I'm no guru when it comes to horse racing. I just throw that as an example. If you're going to have something that would be related to an industry that would actually create jobs. The idea of sports betting is some guy in Las Vegas, is he going to make a lot of money?
And on another note, I got some good locations.
There
I'll
you
be
go.
happy to sell the land.
Good conversation, Tom. Appreciate the call. 561-8255. We got to take a timeout. We'll be right back.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. from your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
You know that moment when you realize your hair color is way past its prime, or that you need a change and you hope it comes in the form of perfectly sun-kissed highlights? And at Fantastic Sam's, we offer real salon services at real people prices. Our color specialists can do it all. They make grays disappear, layer in subtle highlights, or help you finally find that perfect shade of red. All for real reasonable prices.
Well, folks, it's only 8 a.m. and it's going to be another hot one. Today's high is 85 degrees with lows ranging in the upper 50s. Tomorrow's more of the same, plus some light wind coming in from the northeast. Coming up at 8:30, Paul's got an exclusive...
Babe, it's 8 a.m.
Fried chicken, better with Pepsi.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers in Greenville, plus the all-new Tiebreakers in Winterville. Do real burgers better than anybody. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, real burgers at its best.
Everybody loves burgers.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
This is your Drive at 5 and ENC with Tom Lamprecht. Welcome back to News and Views on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Welcome back in, 17 minutes before the top of the hour. So tomorrow is the second anniversary of the death of George Floyd. The Washington Post. Now this is considered, or was considered at one time, one of the major publications in this country and probably around the world. 2 years after George Floyd's death, the Washington Post can't even remember how he died. According to the Jeff Bezos' own rag, George Floyd was, quote, shot and killed while in custody of the Minneapolis Police Department. On May 25th, 2020, George Floyd was shot and killed in police custody, the Washington Post tweeted Monday night, and that was taken right out of the publication. His death sparked outrage, wide-scale protest, and calls to change in policing. 2 years later, what has changed or hasn't changed? Wow.
Well, maybe the Washington Post were just so intent on trying to get two political moves at once, you know, guns and racial division. Maybe they just forgot the facts, you know. Who is it calls the Washington Post the Washington Compost? I think that's what I call it.
It's probably Mark Levin, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, also Washington Post has recently had an opinion article about basically saying how it wasn't right for, you know, basically a multi-billionaire to take over, you know, Twitter, talking about Elon Musk, and like,
oh, and that was the editorial by
that was
Jeff
the editorial. I said,
Bezos.
you do realize who owns your darn paper, right?
Epic Times has run a story, and this ought to really, we're talking about election fraud. Boy, this is the preamble to, you can see election fraud coming down the tracks like a freight train. Representative Ralph Norman, I should say, from South Carolina, told the Epic Times on May 23rd that President Joe Biden's proposed amendments to the World Health Organization, WHO, their authority, are the greatest threat to our sovereignty that we face in a long time. The South Carolina Republican said, quote, for this administration to sell our country down the river like he's doing with this deal with somebody who's under the influence of China, who is a person that has not had the first inclination to investigate where the coronavirus came from, to give him more authority, we're going to ring the bells, he said. The individual Norman was referring to was the World Health Organization Director General Tedros. Tedros is the former Minister of Affairs of Ethiopia. Tedros would receive significant authority to act unilaterally if a package of Biden administration proposed amendments to the United Nations International Health Regulations are adopted. The International Health Regulations defines WHO's regulatory powers regarding public health issues around the world. Biden's amendments are to be considered this week during the World Health Assembly in Geneva, Switzerland. The World Health Organization is under the Assembly. The United States provides more than $150 million in assessed contributions to fund the World Health Organization and has given an average of an additional $262 million in annual voluntary funding since 2012. And as you know, if you follow the coronavirus boondoggle, who was basically our Tedros and World Health Organization was kowtowing to China the whole time.
Oh, China has controlled the World Health Organization for I don't know how many years, at least since this guy has been in. I think he's from Africa. Is that right?
Ethiopia. Yeah.
Ethiopia. Yeah. Yeah. Africa's a continent, by the way, not a country, Vinny.
But you're close.
Anyway, I was close enough. But I mean, here I think this may be the most important pressing issue right now is to not let this happen, because
I agree.
We will have another pandemic at China's direction. And who will be taking orders from China? I mean, look, China's they know the blueprint. They know how it works. I think they caused it last time, but it's not just by happenstance that China was the only world economy that increased their GDP during the pandemic.
Under the proposed amendments, the World Health Organization would be empowered to declare a public health emergency in any country, regardless of whether officials in that country concur with the declaration.
We're a sovereign nation. There's not a one world order thing. I know that's what
they want.
That's exactly what they want. I think this is more pressing than any issue that's going on right now. I really do.
Now, granted, and this Ralph Norman from South Carolina has said, Mr. President, if you actually are going to sign a treaty or it's going to be anything official, it's got to go through Congress. So again, if he does, I've got a phone and a pen crap that Obama did, obviously as soon as the next Republican conservative gets into the White House, he can undo it. But in the meantime, we've got two elections. We got election this November, and then we'll have election in 2024. And you can see this happening. Hey, Joe Biden, I can't do anything. I mean, this is, we're under the authority of the World Health Organization. And they said, we've got to shut things down. They and by the way, to make it fair, since we've got an election coming up and we're being shut down by the World Health Organization, I mean, you can see this coming down the tracks.
Yep, see it coming. And guess what? It probably happened probably about August, September, and run at least through January through election time. It'll be something comes up, and this whole new virus strain will come up and say, "Hey, we can't vote in person. It's just not safe."
Well, we're gonna have to do online voting or something that they can easily cheat at. I mean, the common denominator in all this is they're constantly trying to figure out a way to cheat. And when the Republicans try to strengthen our voting laws, they claim it's disenfranchisement.
Well,
unless it happens to help Gretchen Whitmer.
Democrats. It's, in an election, it's not how you perform; it's how you prepare. It's kind of like that golfer says, hey, the match is won when you set your bets right. It's not how you play.
Somehow that never works with my golf game.
You play with some people like that. That guy that's 12 and for some reason
a 12 handicap,
he
always shoots
75 or something. Yeah.
Hey, stay with us. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
We're on location today at Fabric and Home Furnishings, Arlington Village on Arlington Boulevard here in Greenville. One of my favorite places in town, one of my favorite people in town. My buddy Lisa Pendry is here. And Lisa, when I walked in this morning, the place always looks great, but there's something new here. You got a brand new room. Tell us what's going on.
We do, Henry. We are opening a Norwalk gallery, and we are so excited because this company is so custom. Been in business since 1902, built in Norwalk, Ohio. Tons of wood colors to choose from, over 900 fabric choices, and I've got a design team that can make it fabulous and help you find unique styles.
So when you say custom, a custom furniture line, what does that mean exactly?
You can literally choose the cushion, the fabric. You can even choose the thread color with this company. So wood choices, amazing fabrics, put 3 fabrics on one sofa, as much fun as you want to have.
And that's what people want these days. They want it to be exactly the way they want it, so you can get that with Norwalk.
You can.
All right, what else is new? You've always got some other interesting things going on here.
Well, we have some new fabrics that have arrived, but I've also, in this new showroom, I've added a friend of mine that's opened a company in Hickory, North Carolina called Hickory Luxe. Done business with him for a long time, but we're adding to that because he can deliver in 6 to 8 weeks instead of 8 months like some of these companies are, doing right now.
And as we always say, Fabric and Home Furnishings is a furniture store and so much more. And the so much more is you guys offer design services. I know you're a designer yourself. You have a design team here, so you can offer that full service for people.
I do. I've got the best design team ever. We do commercial design and residential. And there's a lot of decisions that go into what you want your home to be. So we send somebody right out to the house for a flat one-time fee, not an hourly fee. And we analyze it, make a friend, and make it easy and painless and fabulous for people.
Fabric and Home Furnishings here in Arlington Village. My friend Lisa Pendry. It's a furniture store and so much more. Come see them.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you farm to fork beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to fork beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Empty lots at car dealers everywhere, except here. The selection you want is at Greenville Nissan. And during the Nissan Thrill of the Drive sales event, buy a new Nissan with financing as low as 0.9%. The versatile Nissan Rogue, the all-new Pathfinder, or gas-saving cars like Nissan Sentra and Altima. And yes, we have trucks. Buy the new Nissan Titan with 0.9% financing, or the all-new Frontier for $99 a month. Hurry to Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
From ultra-high inflation.
And it's my top domestic priority.
To ultra-high cost of living.
I know you gotta be frustrated. I can taste it.
It pays to be ultra well-informed.
We're throwing money away like drunken sailors. I'm so pissed off.
When you join the conversation.
We're just printing more money, which adds to inflation, which destroys the American family. That makes me sick.
What happens next happens here with Tom and Benny on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Welcome back in. Christy Bach down at News. Interesting story. I guess this came out late yesterday, perhaps. Senator Jim Perry has introduced a Senate bill to allow the recall of members of the Lenoir County Board of Education. To say they lean left is probably a good description. On Monday, Jim Perry introduced Senate Bill 767 to allow the recall of the Lenoir County Board of Education members. Prior to the introduction of the bill, Perry sent communication of his intent to the Lenoir County School Board and the Lenoir County Commissioners. What I'm going to do is What I'm not going to do is ignore the parents of our community when a significant number of them have reached out and expressed concern about their feelings when their thoughts and concerns were dismissed and they had no system to address their grievances, said Perry. They felt ignored, like they were not heard. The bill states that a registered voter of Lenoir County Schools Administrative Unit may seek the removal of a member who represents the registered voter by filing an affidavit with the Lenoir County Board of Elections that names the member and provides a general statement of the grounds alleged for removal. Perry believes all levels of government exist to serve the people. Without those parents, the school board wouldn't be there. Good for Jim Perry, and if we do that for the White House, we'd really be set.
Yeah, as I understand it, that would only require a simple majority in the House of Representatives, General Assembly. So if Cooper can't veto it,
he can't veto it.
Can't veto it.
There you go. Well, hey, if this works, I have a hunch that anybody that has a conservative representative in the House or the Senate is going to be asking for the same type of legislation for their county.
Yep.
Just saying. Hey, thanks for being with us. We'll do it again tomorrow at 5. We'll see you then. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right. What do you see when you imagine life on the coast? Is it salty or sweet? Is it refined or a bit wild? Perhaps it's the perfect combination of everything you ever dreamed of. This is the very best of living on the coast. Bow Coast.